Welcome to CARDESIGN.ACADEMY. Continuing on with my demonstration of how to do a very nice presentation level sketch using a rough screenshot from a 3D model. In this case, a model I built in Gravity Sketch in about 2.5 hours. This is a futuristic off-road electric vehicle, which really emphasizes the possibilities of having a decentralized powertrain with the hood surface depressed deep between the front fenders, enabling unparalleled forward visibility. So with that, recently demonstrated a similar technique using a sexy Italian sports car that I also built in Gravity Sketch. So I'm going to start by resizing the image and doing a little bit of stance work. So again, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And what I like to do is splay out the bottom corners of the image. It just helps give the car a bit more of a planted look and gives it more of a sort of cheated sketch quality. And then I'm also going to use the color picker and match the background tone as well. Next, I'm going to do a quick overlay sketch. So I'm going to make the data transparent, and using a black pencil, I'm just going to do a quick sketch overlay. Just keep it very loose and very quick. That's going to give it more of a sketch quality. Here you can see that windscreen dipping deep below the fenders. Fenders rise up to provide wheel travel clearance for the tires, while the center portion of the hood is extremely low for unparalleled forward visibility. Also, the surface of the windshield is absolutely flat. Sort of reminiscent of a 1970s Countach. And then the bodywork rises up over the driving lights, which form the mounting for the roof rack. The nice thing about working over data is a lot of the hard work is done for you in terms of setting up perspectives, getting the proportions right, working out the graphics. All of that's been done here. Depending on the fidelity of your model, you could have a lot of work to do in Sketchbook Pro, or very little work to do in Sketchbook Pro. But adding this loose sketch layer really helps to bring a bit of life to the image. Also, working over data means I've worked to a much more realistic package for wheels and tires, wheelbase, tire OD. You can cheat the data as much or as little as you want. But at the end of the day, once you have that data, it's your decision to make, which is very empowering. Even though I'm sketching over data, I still like to draw the perspective guidelines. Just helps give it a more of a sketched look, but it also helps me to make sure that everything that I do conforms to the original perspective. Okay, so now that I have my sketch layer, oh yeah, the other thing that I want to do is a cast shadow. So again, the cast shadow is very important for determining the stance of the vehicle. Since this is an off-road vehicle and the shadow is much further away from the rocker of the vehicle, that helps give the car a sense of being high off the ground, light on its feet. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring full opacity back to the main data. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add that sort of halo of background tone, which is going to help blend the cards into its environment. So I'm going to use the color picker and I'm going to select the background tone. Using a big airbrush, I'm just going to fade out the outer periphery of the vehicle. Just a very subtle way of giving the image a sense of atmosphere. Next up, I will add the cast shadow using the ink brush and a transparent black layer. Back when I did some of the rendering demos leading up to building this model, I had to go in and sketch all of these graphic elements by hand. Now it's already done for me. So it actually saves me a ton of work when I go to do these final presentation images. And I do consider this to be a final presentation level image if you want it to be. We can go a lot more photorealistic once we have data, and I do plan to demonstrate that as well. In fact, with some of the rendering programs available, we can have a lot of these cast shadows generated for us as well. But I'm doing it this way to show you just using the most basic screenshot, how quickly you can generate some nice images. I'm going to put a little bit of fade on the shadow as well. Again, just to give it a sense of atmosphere. Just soften the edges of the shadow as well. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is add some transparency to the glass. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do a very transparent layer of the background tone. So I'm going to use the color picker, select the background tone, and I'm just going to sketch in that far side of the glass as it shows through to the background. So I'm going to do the same over here. We're going to see a little bit of the view out the back window. As you can see, the shader that I used for the body is already picking up the reflection of the background tone, which is really cool. Okay, so now I'm going to add some reflectivity to the glass using a transparent layer of white. Going with the big airbrush, since it's a big flat surface. I'm just going to enhance that highlighted area on the side glass. I'm also going to add a bit of reflected light from below, so that's going to take on the background tone. Next, I'm going to add some of the background tone along the rocker. Maybe add a bit more ground tone to the bottoms of the tires as well. Again, it helps make the vehicle a part of its environment. I'm going to add a small bit of shadow in order to better define some of the surfaces going on in this front corner, because this is really the focal area of the design. I'm trying to separate this fender, this beveled edge on the fender from the top surface of the hood. Now I'm going to add a little bit of detail on the bumper. Just going to hit those top surfaces using a white airbrush. And there's a secondary light catcher down here. Now I'm going to start to add a bit of artistry to the tires. I'm going to use my ink brush. I'm going to turn the size up, turn the opacity way down, and go with a white, like a transparent white. Just going to add a little bit of these painterly highlights on the tops of the tires. Turn the opacity down a bit. Then I'm going to go in with a smaller brush and just emphasize those treads a little bit more. Because now that I have the data, I know exactly the correct spacing for the treads. And I also want to go in with those pops of color, the red pops of color, which I already have here on the window. But I want to put them in the wheels as well. I sort of imagine these as being like something to do with putting air in the tires, the tire valve. And then finally, I'm going to just go in with my white pencil and just highlight some of these edges along the black cladding. These leading edges often have a slight radius to them, and they in many cases catch a bit of light. So you can see how I've got the brightest edge along the light source, and then as I get further away from the hot spot, they fade away a bit. Just highlighting some of those details in the front, where you get these details intersecting each other. You often get a little bead of light there as well. Finally, I'm going to do a bit of background. So I'm going to take a black airbrush. I'm just going to darken the background a bit. So as you can see, you have a much more artistic, flavored final rendering image, but the data gives it believability and realism and perspective.